Hi everybody, welcome back to Office Hours with myself, Fr Stu. I'm not alone today, as you can tell. We had a couple special guests yesterday, and today we have another very special guest. Oh my goodness, 2 days in a row. It's my great pleasure to welcome to Office Hours, Paulist novice, Philip Catalanotto. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. Thanks for taking your time.
Great being on the live stream.
Oh boy, no, I'm glad it's a treat. Yeah, no, I'm glad it's a treat. It's a great pleasure for us. Now, Phil, you are a Paulist novice. Can you tell us what that means?
So, a novice is someone who's committed to try on religious life. Basically, I'm just trying Paulist life on as I'm discerning vocation to priesthood. And I think the best way of doing this is with the Paulist fathers. So, I've said I'm going to try this on, and if it fits, it fits.
Excellent. Okay, good, sure. And during this, so you've been where during the rest of the year, right?
I've been in D.C.
You've been in D.C. and you live with the other seminarians there.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Cool. And one thing I noticed is that you're not in Washington D.C. now, are you?
No. I'm in Ohio.
Well, this is rather confusing and shocking. Let's find out what this means. So you've been here with us since Ash Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So this is your Lenten apostolate. Is that what we still call it these days?
Yes, indeed, we do.
Okay, so what's the hope or the idea with the Lenten apostolate?
Well, the whole point of the Lenten apostolate is to get experience in ministry, to be able to enter into Paulist ministry and also Paulist community life outside of DC, to experience what that looks like, in the hope that the person will grow and be formed in that situation as much as in a more academic or more structured situation back in DC. Here our hope is that we are able to pick up some pastoral competencies, as we call them, theological competencies, and personal ones as well, to kind of work out and be formed into the best person we can be in actual public ministry instead of just in a classroom or just in our regular routine.
Okay, nice. Now, as a novice, you're here and you have novice brothers doing then another assignments, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. And so in terms of yourself and your own background, so where do you hail from? You tell the folks at home. Tell the folks at home where you hail from. Yeah.
I'm originally from Long Island, New York. I grew up in Wantagh, which is a small town. Used to be a pretty small town, farming little town before World War II. After World War II, really became kind of suburban. And so I grew up in that suburban kind of setting in New York, so close enough to Manhattan, but far enough away so that you didn't get all the craziness. Went to public schools, then went upstate to Spark Hill, New York, to a tiny college called St. Thomas Aquinas College, and studied religious studies, communication arts there. And after that, I went off to Chicago, and I did a year of volunteer work. I worked with the poor elderly on the south side of Chicago for a year, before initially discerning religious life with another community, which I left to come to the back to New York. And then I worked as a professional in a retreat house called the Seminary of Immaculate Conception in Huntington, as a guest master and one of the sacristans and liturgists there. And after that job, I stayed there for a year and a half before coming to the Paulist Fathers this past August.
This past August, wow, terrific. Okay, very good. So in terms of your own life, can you identify a time when you first started discerning priesthood?
I think I was probably very young when the thought entered my head. When I seriously started looking at priesthood, it was much older. I was in college, and I started to say, well, what are the steps? And I never really had like a guide. Now there are guides out online all the time of how to do it, but I kind of tried to figure it out on my own. It was like, what do you do? Well, you contact a vocations director. So I call up a few vocations director, and we have lunch. And I'm like, so how does this work? And they kind of explain the process, and I'm like, so what makes you different than the guy I see back on Long Island? And the Franciscan guys explained what the Franciscans were about, and the Salesians explained what the Salesians about, and the Dominicans explained what the Dominicans were about. So I kind of got a flavor of what that looked like, and of course met with the Hassan guy as well to kind of see, well, where do I kind of fit into this discernment? And I knew I didn't want to be at Hassan, and I said, it may be for some people, but I definitely want to be with doing something particular. I want, a charism that drives me. And so I started looking and I started questioning. So that's really where it started, was college, to seriously think about it.
Okay, terrific. All right. Well, let's say there's, and there's bound to be some other, younger people out there watching. If they're considering discerning and they're kind of like not sure what to do with this vocation feeling, I mean, like, what's a good first step for them? Should they just talk to their pastor, or should they be looking at things online? I mean, what's the...
I would definitely say talk to a priest. It doesn't necessarily have to be your pastor, but a priest you trust, and a priest you can say, I'm thinking about this, I'm struggling with this, what's your thought? And at that point, they might point you in the direction of a vocations director, whether it's religious life that you're trying to discern, or priesthood in a diocese, or another vocation that you're kind of struggling with. They're going to be able to try to, guide you in the right direction to equip you with the right tools. And a lot of that, there are good resources online. There's multiple. You can just search vocations to religious life or priesthood, and you're going to get a gazillion different Google searches, from different Franciscans to the Paulist Fathers ourselves on our website. Yeah. So that's really a good first step. And then I would also recommend, maybe a spiritual director, someone that walks with you along your spiritual journey of vocation, and to kind of say, this is some areas that need strengthening, or no, you're really good with this, but how does this impact you? How does this impact your family and friends? And then that's another step, is talking to family and friends and saying, how do you feel about this? I'm thinking about it, but how do you feel about that? Because that also plays a big part of the discernment process. Some families and some friends are very supportive, others aren't. I was lucky that mine was always very supportive.
That's great.
But so definitely those things. So talk to a priest, get a spiritual director, and then kind of do some research, and then contact vocations directors if you're really want to just start gathering information. And then ultimately, if once you do that, go on Come and See Weekends, go on discernment retreat, because that's going to really help you kind of say, this group's for me, or no, that group's not for me. It doesn't meet my needs, it doesn't meet where I see myself. Because it's a two-way road of discernment. It's not just, I'm called to be a priest, great, go be a priest. It's, what type of priest do you want to be? What type of religious do you want to discern? And that's what kind of this whole process is about. It's not just a very quick process, but it can be lengthy, and clarity doesn't happen overnight. But we look and we hope for clarity. So.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific. Thank you. So it's a very good advice there. I think one of the things I hear you saying, I mean, you don't want to keep it to yourself and just kind of go it alone. That tends to not work out that great, right? Because discernment, involves a lot of pieces. Of course, you want to pray. Obviously, you pray, but you need these other people to like get some feedback, like objectively. What do you think about this idea? And if you go to a spiritual director, they can help you figure out, all right, where is the Holy Spirit moving in your life? I think that sounds great to me. Did you ever do that Vision Vocation Badge thing? You familiar with that?
Yeah, no, not as much. I know about the magazine and stuff, and they send out these things, and you look at the different little cards in it, but I never really did the match of that and saying what I would make. 90% this or 90% that. I had people that said I should have been a Passionist, or I should be a Franciscan, or I should be a Jesuit. And when I heard I should be a Jesuit, I'm like, I'm not smart enough.
Sure. No, that's I can identify with that. I think if I had followed that, I took it, many years ago, and I think I would have been like an Augustinian now or something like that. Me and my novice brother, Fr Stu, who's in Chicago now, we're both like, oh, we should have been Augustinians, I guess, we follow this thing. But it's like, other than that, I think Paulists were my second thing, though, which was interesting. It was like, oh my goodness, wow, that's interesting. And I hadn't even heard of them before that, too much. And it was just like, okay, I guess that's confirmation to look into those characters. But,
I didn't hear them till I started looking at. I found them on a Google search my second time around looking. I'm like, huh. What are these guys? I found the YouTube videos of all you guys. I'm like,
well, it's a good thing we made
these guys
those.
are pretty cool.
Right. Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. All right. So, Phil, is there any highlights of your time here so far?
Definitely working with the different student groups. And also helping share some spiritual reflections at Mass. It's been really great for me.
Glad you've had those that experience. We have a great group of students here. We have a very wonderful group of people, and a lot of great leaders and future leaders in the church. So it's nice to be able to do that. All right. Well, that's I think that about does it for us at Office Hours. We could go on forever, but I think this has been delightful. Thank you again, Phil, for joining us today. It's a real treat.
Inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So for all of us here at Office Hours, again, that's me and Phil. We give thanks for watching today, and hope you have a blessed weekend, and of course, Palm Sunday on Sunday. So we'll speak to you soon. God bless you all. Bye.